Hello everybody, this is Rob and this is R&B Reviews. Well, the summer blockbuster season is over, and I'm going to be doing something that I actually haven't done for quite a while, and that is I'm going to do a list of what I thought were the best, disappointing, and worst movies of this past summer. Now, if you looked at my preview video from April and then watched all my subsequent reviews, a lot of the big blockbusters or films in a popular series, for me, ended up being disappointments, with a few exceptions, and it was often the smaller movies that I ended up enjoying a little bit more. So here's how my list is going to be working out. I've picked 5 movies that I thought were the best of the summer, I picked 2 movies that disappointed me, and I picked 1 worst. So why don't we go ahead and start with the best. Alright, number 5 on my list is Baby Driver from director Edgar Wright. Interestingly, before I saw the film, I never saw the trailer. All I saw was this 1970s looking cardboard poster designed with Edgar Wright's name as well as Kevin Spacey in sunglasses, and I was sold. I didn't even know what the movie was about before I went with my friend Dan to see it. It ended up being a very entertaining movie. Basically, in a small nutshell, it's about a young getaway driver named Baby who wants to walk away from his crime boss, Doc, played by Kevin Spacey, after he meets Deborah, who's a waitress, and he starts to have romantic feelings for her. And Kevin Spacey's character brings people in on different robberies. Now, this film I thought had great combination of action, suspense, and romance, and it also has a soundtrack which helps the lead character get through personal situations, or basically he uses the rhythm of the music to help him drive the car during various chases. Visually, the movie I thought was stunning, and the film was edited very well. As a matter of fact, it was edited where during car chases and the way people moved was cut to the rhythm of the music of the soundtrack. The film also took advantage of the surround sound that I think added to the theater-going experience. I thought the cast was great, including Spacey, who could be father-like one moment and scary the next. Number 4, Lucky Logan from director Steve Soderbergh. Now, this is another crime film, but a very different kind. This is a film that's a comedy drama, all-star heist movie about a recently fired construction worker played by Channing Tatum and his brother who's missing a hand played by Adam Driver, and they decide to rob a money vault at a NASCAR speedway with a vault break with a guy played by Daniel Craig. Now, Lucky Logan is a quirky film filled with dry humor and great dialogue. I really love the dialogue here because it often sounded like how people talk in real life when they have conversations. And I think the cast did an excellent job, especially Adam Driver as the quieter brother. And this film features probably Kate D. Holmes' best performance in a while as Tatum's ex. But Tatum and Driver, I thought, had probably the best scenes together. The movie was unpredictable, and I liked being surprised with different plot twists. While there were some moments and characters that I think could have been used or explored a little bit better, I thought it was one of the better movies of the summer. Number 3, Dunkirk from Christopher Nolan. After tackling superheroes and science fiction, Nolan made a movie based on the evacuation of Allied soldiers on the beaches of Dunkirk with an advancing enemy soldiers in 1940. Now, I was surprised that for a Nolan movie how short it was, and I think a lot of viewers felt that the film with the film you didn't really get to know the lead characters as well as they wanted to, and there wasn't much action scenes. But the film is more about experience. It is about the soldiers and what they went through, and civilians that were coming from England to help rescue the soldiers, what it was like for them. And to me, the movie made me feel like I was plucked out of my time-space continuum in the movie theater and dropped into the action. The natural-looking photography and the sound mixing, such as volume of gunshots, made me feel like I was there as an observer. The film has great suspense, and the cast made up mostly of character actors or up-and-coming actors made me feel like I was watching real people, something that may not have happened if you got a big Hollywood star to be in the film. And for me, Dunkirk ended up being a great theatrical experience for the big screen. Number 2, now we're moving into the superhero blockbusters. This is Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, many Marvel fans were happy to see Spider-Man being brought back by Marvel's Cinematic Universe after 2 different film series from Sony, one starring, of course, Tobey Maguire, and the recent one with Andrew Garfield. I thought Tom Holland was once again I thought was excellent as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and Michael Keaton plays the villain, the Vulture. Now, I really liked his character because, unlike other Marvel villains, Keaton's character is not really out to take over the world. Instead, his character wants to, support his family, and he doesn't really want to hurt people, at least in the beginning. Oftentimes, the Marvel villains are not really well developed, But here, he's given a very good backstory that we can connect with in some ways. And as for Spider-Man, I like this interpretation is very valuable. He's very vulnerable. He is still figuring out his costume that Tony Stark developed for him, and he's still trying to figure, himself out as well. He makes mistakes, and he ends up in situations that's too big for him. And I also like that this wasn't quite an Origins movie. I mean, he already has his power, so we don't have to see him getting bitten by a spider and all that. Instead, we see him just jump into the action. And what was the best movie of the summer? For me, it was Wonder Woman. Wow. After having some doubts about DC's cinematic universe, this film won me back. I was involved in the character and her, story right away. I think we got just enough to know about Diana and her home, and sometimes in DC and even in Marvel's films, we aren't really given enough, or we're given too much, and it can bog the film down. I really like the character development here, and I really like Gal Gadot's performance here more than I did in Batman vs Superman. I think her character reactions to mid-1910 society that she finds herself in, and the way people behaved and acted were very good, and I really thought she displayed different emotions very well. And the supporting characters I thought were entertaining. Not only did I think this was a well-made superhero movie, but it dealt with different themes, including some anti-war aspects, and it also deals with optimism in a cynical world. Wonder Woman may have a dark tone, but there's plenty of humor that I think hits the mark in this movie. And this movie runs at 141 minutes, but unlike Batman vs. Superman, I thought it ran at a very good pace. I was never bored by it. And most of all, I felt the movie was both thrilling and it packed emotional punches. Alright, now let's head over to the disappointing category. Number 2. One of the movies that disappointed me this summer was Despicable Me 3. Now, I like the first two movies, especially the second film, and I thought the Minions spin-off was just okay. As a result, I was really looking forward to this movie, but in the end, I left feeling pretty much like I felt with the Minions movie. It was just okay. I liked some of the visual gags, and I did chuckle at a couple of the verbal jokes, but I didn't feel as interested in the characters as I had before. I didn't care what happened to them or what they would do if they got into a tight spot. And I really, after, thinking back on the movie after it's been out since, June, I didn't really find the film to be memorable after all. While I like that the filmmakers did try to give all their characters something to do, there were some subplots that were developed better than others, and while other subplots just went nowhere. I think the success of the first two movies was that the Gru and the Minions were each balanced off each other. Here, Gru is off with his long-lost twin brother Drew, and the Minions are mostly off on their own. Voiceover work was good, and I really liked the villain in this movie. I loved his backstory. But overall, I thought the film, while it had its moments, I thought it just ended up being just a decent, okay movie. Now, what was the movie that really disappointed me this summer? That would be Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Now, I was really looking forward to this movie because the visuals I saw in the trailer were great, and after doing some research on the source material, I found the themes to be relevant. But after leaving the theater, I guarantee you, I was not disappointed by the visuals, but the plot I thought was a bit rushed, and that I didn't always understand some of the technology. I felt like I didn't understand this world, and when a character does try to explain it, I felt like I even more lost. The action scenes I didn't think were very thrilling at all. Acting I thought was hit and miss. I really liked Dane DeHaan as Valerian. Cara Delevingne as Laureline, his partner, sometimes could be a little bit flat. There were some moments where they're given some snappy dialogue between them, and I thought those were kind of fine. It kind of reminded me of Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow from the Iron Man movies, and I like that the two lead characters were different. Laureline is supposedly the more smarter one, and Valerian is more like a ladies' man. I like that what the movie was trying to say about the aftermath of war and multiculturalism and love, but I just thought the movie fell flat. Alright, so in my opinion, what was the worst movie of the summer? That would be, we're gonna have to journey to the beginning of the summer blockbuster season for the answer. That would be The Circle. that movie, I thought was a very missed opportunity. The movie, if you remember, starred Emma Watson and Tom Hanks, and it deals with the use of technology such as the social media company that Emma Watson's character works for, and how it uses to spy and monitor its employees. And it also touches on being a celebrity on the internet and how fame changes your life. Now, on paper, this movie should have worked, but I found the movie to be very unengaging, and I found the actors, with the exception of the charismatic Tom Hanks as the, I guess you could say, Steve Jobs-like founder, to be very bland. Hanks did a good job at playing his character as a funny, insightful character, and he does a very good job at selling his employees on ideas on various unneeded products that he releases, as well as ideas that surveillance around the world will, with human beings, will help with human rights, even though privacy will be lost. I think the tone of the film was wrong, for example, for a movie that's being cynical of social media as well as the loss of privacy. It needed a sense of paranoia and terror and on the edge, and it ended up being just colorless. And I don't think that the bland dialogue helped at all. So that's my pick for worst movie. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a quick recap, shall we? The 5 movies that I thought were the best this summer were Baby Driver, Logan Lucky, Dunkirk, number 2 was Spider-Man Homecoming, and number 1 was Wonder Woman. The 2 movies that really disappointed me this summer were Despicable Me 3 and Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, and the worst movie of the summer, The Circle. Alright, well that's my list, and if you're interested, go ahead and post your own list of what movies you thought were the best this summer, what movies disappointed you, and what movies you thought were the worst. And if you're interested, come on and check out the channel, look at some other reviews of movies that are now available for you to watch at home, or perhaps something you can catch in the theaters. And if you're interested, consider being a subscriber. Thank you very much for watching.